That was church. That was church. That's right. That's right. You know, it's on my heart. In all things, give thanks. And we have some people in this church who extend the Word of God out into the community in really amazing ways. We have a Lutheran church that is down the street from us, and they've been without a pastor for about a year or so now. And people in this church, ministers in this church, practitioners in this church, have gone over there to preach the Word of God for them. And I just want to ask Reverend Brenda, Reverend Rick, and Leah Hertel, please stand and let us give you some love. I'm not sure what kind of message that I'm not even going to Let us prepare ourselves. If you put your hand over your eyes, open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today. Open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today. Now over your ears, I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today. I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today. Now when you extend over your heart and extend your arms, I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today. The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is change your thinking, change your life. Now, if you've been coming to a New Thought Church for any amount of time, you've heard that. Change your thinking, change your life. And sometimes I worry that we reduce our teaching into sound bites and it just doesn't hit people deeply enough. So I want to spend some time with this today because it's powerful. You know, if I go to my practitioner, and yes, all the ministers and practitioners, we all have practitioners of our own to go to when we're having messes in our lives. And so if I go to a practitioner with a mess in my life, he or she is going to say, well, okay, we have to change a thought to change your life. That's the beginning, because practitioners understand that the solution to our problems doesn't come for us, it comes through us. And in order for it to come through us, we have to make some changes in our life. Change your thinking, change your life, however, is only the beginning. And I say it's the beginning because we have to take the thought, the new thought, and transform it down into our heart, into where our feelings are. Because it is your feelings that will attract the solution. Your thought will not attract the solution. It is your feelings. So for instance, you may have a thought, I want to have more compassion for my political enemies. That's where I'm going for my own self this week. I want to have more compassion for my political enemies. Well, if I have that as a thought, but it doesn't ever get to my feeling, or it stays in the thought, and my feeling is anger and fear, I will not be able to attract that which I need to fulfill my dream. So we have to move it down into our feelings. Some people call the combination of feeling and thought a belief. But whatever you want to call that, it's absolutely critical for our success. You can't change your life without changing your thoughts, because feelings don't change without thinking. People don't, feelings, we think that they do. We think, oh, somebody just went right to our heart and bypassed our thinking mind. Rarely does that happen. So today I'm starting a series to support you and I being more prosperous in our life. And you know, November is often associated with both abundance and gratitude. So I read a book recently that was actually recommended by Curtis James on his Facebook page. And I rarely get on Facebook, and by the way, thank you all for those of you who tried to give me a birthday wish on my Facebook page, but weren't able to do that. Evidently, I touched something I shouldn't have. And none of you can get on my page anymore, so I know it was in your heart. But Curtis recommended this book, and I read it, and it's really helped me in my life to begin to think more prosperously in my life. The word prosperity means this. It means to flourish, to succeed, to thrive, and to experience favorable results. me just say it again. The word prosperity means to flourish, to succeed, to thrive, and to experience favorable results. See, a lot of times, especially when you come into a New Thought church, people think, oh, she's going to talk about prosperity, she's going to talk just about money. I'm not talking, it's not limited to money. If you're a person who came to the church this morning and you just don't want one more nickel in your life, I just don't want one more damn nickel in my life. It just makes me sick to have any more money in my life. You're still in the right place. Because it means so much more than that. You're prosperous to the degree that you experience peace and health and plenty of whatever it is you want in the world. While prosperity can mean many things to many people, basically what it does is give you the power to make your own individualized dreams come true in your life. Whether those dreams concern better health, a better education in your life, becoming a happier person, maybe it is more money in your life, maybe it's a deeper spiritual life. All of those are available to us if we can understand how prosperity works in our life. But here's the thing. For many of us, before we even get to the laws of prosperity, before we even get to the wisdom of the book, by the way, the book is called The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder, who is a wonderful unity prosperity teacher. And she says this: I can teach you everything, but until you get over the hurdle of thinking that prosperity is opposite of spirituality, until you get over that idea that people of faith can't be prosperous, we're not going to be able to go anywhere. See, many of us have been hurt either by an internet scam. I know there's some people in the church right now who are reeling from that hurt and trying to build their life back up. Some of us have been hurt by working with corporations who cared more about profit than they did about people. And we've felt taken advantage of. And here's the thing. Either consciously or unconsciously, when those things happen, we don't want to be like them. We don't want to be like them. And then if you come like me from a family of working class people who were suspicious of rich people all the time, then prosperity can be off-putting. I don't want to be prosperous because I'm not going to be a good person. I'm not going to be a spiritual person. God is not going to love me. So here's the thing. Honestly, everything I share with you, how to flourish, how to thrive, how to expect good things in your life, will all be for naught if we still have this feeling that it's wrong to be prosperous, or that you can't be a good person and be prosperous. What will happen is, I'm going to go over her laws, and they're powerful. They're amazingly powerful. But as I go over them, if all you do is keep it in your head and it doesn't travel down to your heart, you're going to be a smart poor person at the end of this time. So to drive home this idea of separating prosperity from spirituality, or prosperity from being a good person, Ponder and many prosperity teachers use the phrase, it's a sin to be poor. It's a sin to be poor. Now, I'm not crazy about that, because what I think it does is encourage judgmental behavior. It encourages us to judge other people. It encourages us to judge ourselves if we're not in a good place in terms of prosperity. And you know, before I learned these prosperity laws, when I first came to Science of Mind, I knew I was a good person, but I also knew I was very poor, and it was difficult for me to be able to put money together. So I don't want us to use the word it's sin to be poor, although I will say this. If you've been coming to Science of Mind for a while, you know that the word sin is an archery term. It's in the language of Jesus, the Aramaic language of Jesus, and all it means is you missed the mark. That's what the word sin means. You missed the bullseye. You missed the mark. And of course we do miss the mark. when we're poor, because that's not our divine inheritance. Our divine inheritance is to be prosperous in every single way. But many of us have had that word sin thrown at us so often that we have an emotional reaction. So I want to change it, as sin to be poor, change it to prosperity is good. Prosperity is good. Can we say that together? Prosperity is good. It's spiritual to be prosperous. Say that. It's spiritual to be prosperous. Let's say that one more time. It's spiritual to be prosperous. And in fact, oh, where's my book? Okay. In fact, in this book, which by the way has story after story after story, and if you're like me, that's how I learn a lot. I learn from people who have fallen down, how they get back up. And that's what this book gives us. It gives us a lot of stories of people who have fallen down, but it teaches us how they got back up, which enables us to learn from that as well. And in this, she says, a doctor I know has said that he would have very few patients if it weren't for financial problems, which cause them to worry, strain, and have tension, all of which lead to ill health. He states that our mental hospitals are filled with people who have found that financial strain over a long period impaired their minds and bodies to the point of incapacity. It has even been estimated that 9/10 of mankind's ills are caused by the strain, misery, and unhappiness of poverty. So it's really incumbent upon us to be joy-filled people to get this idea of prosperity firmly within us. You know, you can't live on the physical plane without some prosperity in your life. You know, it takes food to have food and to have clothing, to have a warm shelter, to have a place for recreation. You can't live on the mental plane without prosperity. You know, having satisfying mental activity sometimes costs money in our lives. You know, books, you can go to the library and get a book, but if you want to buy a book to be able to write in and scribble on the margins, that costs money. Facebook is free, but iPads and iPhones and computers, those all cost money. If you want to go traveling, you know, that costs money sometimes. You want to go to concerts, that takes some prosperity. It takes prosperity to live on the spiritual plane, because we have to have a place for quiet meditation and contemplation and prayer in our life. And we have to have a way to get to CSA for classes and for services in our life. Ponder says this: stop making excuses for or putting up for lack, any kind of lack at all, or accepting lack as a permanent arrangement. If you are in a state of financial lack right now, I promise you, if you begin to internalize these spiritual laws of prosperity and move them from your head into your heart and move them out to feeling, you will beat any kind of poverty you have going on right now. I heard somebody say the other day, oh, I'm just a mean person. I'm just mean, that's just how I am. No, that's not how you are. Change your thinking, change your life. Begin to ask for the prosperity of compassion in your life. Retirees, stop saying you're living on a fixed income. There's no such thing as a fixed income. Don't accept that as a permanent state that you can't get out of in your life. Prosperity is your divine inheritance because you are an emanation of the one who provides for all. It's not prosperous to be poor. And I don't have time today to go into the history of it, but during the Middle Ages, it was clergy who taught this idea that poverty led to salvation. Poverty does not lead to salvation. They had to do that to keep the people under control, to keep them in bondage, to tell them what to think and how to think. And so it was important that they kept them in a poverty state. Now, even though God does not want us to be poor, and we got to get rid of that idea that it's more spiritual to be poor, we have to also keep firm before us the powerful link between God and your prosperity, because there is a critical link. God is the source and supply, and we need to keep that firm before us all the time, every day. God is our source and our supplier. Ponder tells story after story after story of people who had amazing results simply by affirming that God is the source. Simply by affirming that God is the source. So the first two steps in gaining prosperity thinking, in learning the prosperous laws, is number one, to get rid of the idea that it's spiritual to be poor. And number two, get deep inside of us that God is our source. God is the source of our supply. And furthermore, God is trying like hell to get us to understand that and to see it and to experience it in our life. So let's talk about what Ponder calls the basic law of prosperity. The basic law of prosperity. Now I'm going to go over a number of laws for the next 3 weeks that actually will help us to understand and use this law, but this is the law under which all the other laws are pinned. So this is the law that we have to get clear before us before we jump into the other practical laws in our life. And the basic law of prosperity is this. It's the law of radiation and attraction. The law of radiation and attraction, and it works like this. Our potential wealth, our potential happiness, our potential good health, our potential everything that we want in our life is actually within us waiting to be radiated out. It's actually within us radiated to be out as feelings of health, happiness, and wealth. And those feelings will attract that which we are looking for. So for instance, it's not about money, it's about the feeling that you want. I have a friend who wants a husband. And so what she's doing now is on Saturday night, she set a placemat for a place for her for dinner, a place for her husband. There's no husband, just a place for the husband. Not even any flirtation going on yet, just a place for the husband. So she has candles and she has a placemat and she cooks a nice dinner for the two of them and she sits down to eat it. What is she doing? She's radiating out a feeling of having that husband in her life. Radiating out and attracting in. The Bible says you have to sow before you reap. The scientists describe it as action and reaction. Eastern thought describes it as karma. Business people describe it as supply and demand. But notice that all of these, sowing comes before reaping. Action comes before reaction. Supply comes before demand in our life. The reason that some folks are stuck in poverty is because they're waiting for somebody to give them something. They're not radiating out that which they want. They're just sitting back hoping somebody will give something to them. I went to school with a good friend of mine named Carla, and Carla's father owned a string of furniture stores on the East Coast, and Carla was just waiting for her. She knew that she and her brother were going to inherit millions of dollars. She was just waiting for him to die. That's all she was doing. She was doing nothing else. There was no radiating out of wheat in her life. She wasn't blessing the world by doing anything or having any goals in her life. Most of the time we just spent at the bar. Now, unfortunately, I went along with her for a while, but my father worked on a shipyard. He didn't have a string of stores. But what happened was Carla became a person who was a lonely alcoholic. Why? Because she had no purpose in life. She had no reason to give out in her life. No wheat to contribute in her life. Does that mean that we have to work a 9-to-5 job in order to radiate out? No. It means that we have to keep the flow going, whatever that flow is in our life, whatever it is. Maybe there's a song in your heart that you give out. Whatever it is, it's a feeling of giving. It's a feeling of giving that which you want. You want more compassion in your life? You begin to radiate out that feeling of compassion. Once you radiate out the feeling of compassion, compassion will begin to show up in your life. Now, I started out by saying one of the things, the prosperity work that I'm doing is having more compassion for people with whom I disagree politically. And so I'm trying to radiate out compassion to those people. And I have to say, it's making a wee little difference in my life. It's moving it a little bit. I know that if I keep going, it'll move it even more in my life. If you take a breath and you never let it go, you never breathe out again, what's going to happen is you're going to faint into unconsciousness. If you just take in your life and you never radiate out, you're going to faint in areas of your health and your money and your happiness in your life. To be in a prosperous energy means you have to have prosperous thinking. Working with it mentally always comes first. You know, I frequently teach that there is an energy field, and in that energy field is everything you could possibly want in your life. Anything. It could be money. It could be car. It could be a healthier body, a weight. It could be anything. It could be more love. It could be more patience. It could be anything is in this field. But you have to know what it is you want. And then from that, you take it out of the field through your feelings. I often also say that what we're seeking is seeking us now. Well, it is our feelings that make it come toward us in our life. So these are really important. It's our mind that connects the link between the unformed world and the formed world. But it takes our feelings to make it happen. How great it is to let go of that idea that we have to beg, that we have to appeal to a God in the sky for our blessings in our life. Instead, we work quietly in our mind. We work mentally, choosing, accepting, and then radiating out that which we want to experience in our life. Catherine Ponder has a story in this book about a watchmaker whose business has gone way off. And so she gave him this affirmation. And every morning when he got on his bus to go to his watchmaking little shop, he would repeat this. And it's this: everything and everybody prospers me now. Everything and everybody prospers me now. Everything and everybody prospers me now. If every one of us were to say that every day this week, when we got into our car, or our bicycle, or our scooter, or whatever it is that we get into, or the bus, to go wherever it is that we want to go, if we would say that to ourselves, everything and everybody prospers me now, we will see a shift. But you have to keep it up. And then you have to look for little clues that it's happening. See, sometimes we don't get our blessing because we give up, and we give up because we haven't seen the tiny clues. We wanted the big payoff. We wanted the big finish. Yes, I would like to have complete compassion for everybody who I disagree with right now, but I've got little bitty hints that it's happening. And those are the hints that I'm going to build upon. And that's what we have to do. Once it takes hold mentally and we begin to feel it out and we radiate it out, then as opposed to feelings of financial insecurity, because that's what the watchmaker was doing. He was radiating out financial insecurity. Once he got really embedded with that little affirmation, everybody and everything prospers me now, his feelings began to change. And once his feelings began to change, and he moved from fear of economic insecurity to certainty of God's sufficiency, his business picked up. Within a week or so, his business peaked up. So is that all we have to do, is this little mental work? No. We're going to have more work to do. But it's going to be fun work. We're going to go through her other practical laws of prosperity in the next couple of weeks, and we'll know what to do. And it won't be a drag. It won't be, oh my God, I have to do that. No, we'll be anxious to do it because we'll see that it's working in our life. So to wrap up, today's foundational law is radiation and attraction. Radiation and attraction. It's radiation of feelings, not of things, and attraction. You may need some things, like the candle on the table and the placemat for the husband that doesn't exist. Those are things, but they're only there to create feelings of radiation, because that's what brings our good to us in our life. So next week, and the week after, we're going to look at the lesser laws. I hope you'll be here all week, all month. Dynamic Laws of Prosperity is a great book to pick up. As Curtis said, it's by Catherine Ponder, and it's an easy read. It's a good read. It's an easy read. So let us take this message into prayer. Know there's only one power. It's the power of love, and it runs right through me. And I give thanks to the Great One for always saying yes. Yes, get your bloated nothingness out of the way and allow the love that is me to come through you. I give thanks for that. I release this word into the law, and together we say, and so it is.